You guys know who the most powerful person was 1,000 years ago? Who was the richest person 3,000 years ago? Have you guys prayed or thought about that person once? Do you have a picture and do you get inspired by that? No. The only thing that's last is what? This. This is the only thing that's last. So doesn't it make sense to devote this, your whole life to this, and nothing but this? For me, like 5 years later, I actually look back and I can say I am actually grateful my dad passed away when he did. There's no way I would have said it in that first year, second, but I'm grateful because I see what came out of that, and my perspective shift that happened through his death is something I will never trade, even now. Emotionally, yes, I will be like, go back. I just want to have my dad for another 5 years. But for God's kingdom, I'm like, there was no other way I would have came to this place if it wasn't for his death. Because I know how it was before his death. I care too much about what people say. Now I couldn't care less. I really don't care what you guys think. Nothing phases me. Why? Because when you face death, you don't care. You realize how short it is. Like, I'm not waiting on people's permission to do the things of God. I'm not waiting on people's permission to be crazy for Christ. Call me crazy. Because at the end of my life, 1,000 years from now, you're going to be forgotten. I'm going to be forgotten, so you might as well go all out for Christ now. Now, what are we waiting for? What is this whole like, oh, what are they going to think? Oh, I don't know. But what about my 10 years of retirement? Oh, what about my... Who cares 1,000 years from now? Here's an exercise. You guys know who the most powerful person was 1,000 years ago? Who was the richest person 3,000 years ago? Have you guys prayed or thought about that person once? Do you have a picture and do you get inspired by that? No. The only thing that's last is what? This. This is the only thing that's last. So doesn't it make sense to devote this, your whole life to this, and nothing but this? Does that make sense? Am I sounding crazy here? This is the only thing that matters. Because it's been thousands and thousands of years, we're still talking about the God of Abraham, the God of Jacob, the God of David, the God's story is the one that continues on forever. So either you can be a part of that, he's going to do it, sovereignty, but you can choose to be a part of that or not. That's your responsibility. You could try to build your own thing and be forgotten and, and here's what I say. All of us are going to suffer. Unbelievers still suffer, right? If we're all going to suffer, at least make it meaningful and purposeful. Right? It's like, if you're going to die in battle, at least go out with a bang. Like, don't just be cowering in fear and get killed. Like, if you're going to die and die anyways, at least do it with the purpose. Go out blaze of glory, right? Do it for Jesus at the end. Anyways, this is not even part of the lesson. I don't know what I'm going on. But okay. But here's what I mean. That perspective that is really deep in me now, it happened through suffering. And I think I could say the same for you guys too. Some of the most passionate people I've met for Christ are some of the people who have suffered the most as well. They've always said those who are used by God's kingdom always walk with a spiritual limp. Nobody. I don't know a single person that hasn't suffered. Like, I don't know a person who's been used by God who hasn't suffered. Let me say it that way. It's almost a prerequisite to be used by God. Because how do you humble yourself apart from all the sufferings that happen in life? So, what's the answer to suffering, you're saying? I don't know. I don't think there's a good theological... I can give you what the Bible says. We live in a post-Genesis 3 world. Sometimes your suffering can be used for your... But is that really what you're looking for when you're suffering? Are you going to call me up as Andrew? My best friend passed away. Give me a theology lesson to take this all away. It's not going to happen. But what I can say is that if you dig deeper into, draw closer to the presence of God, the presence of God might not make sense of all the senseless suffering you're going through, but it will give you a deeper hope in Him. And in some ways, that's the best thing you can go through. That if this is what causes you to go deeper into God's presence, then that was the best thing that could have came out from that suffering.